Hello and welcome to Same Cast Different Day podcast. I'm your Hartel Roland, and my co-host somewhere in now, but welcome to the show, everybody. And to get things started today, we're going to be talking about a situation that happened on American Airlines. We have an article from the Journal of the American Medical Association. We're going to be talking about which states are. I believe there was a 7% increase in car insurance. We're going to talk about which state pays the most in car insurance. We're going to be discussing the three missing Kansas. I am messing up today. We're discussing the three missing Kansas City Chiefs fans that came up missing. We have some stories on Donald Trump and the Supreme Court. We also have some things that they want taxpayers to pay for that has to do with Donald Trump also. But my finally,
Hey everybody. Sorry I had to do some mommy business. Sorry.
but
I like dropped off at the last second.
so I just want to before we go, I just want to say that I already talked about this
Martell,
with
you
Tina
frozen on
yesterday.
our end and I can't really hear you.
That's on you because I'm not frozen.
Yeah, you was
Uh,
just frozen.
but one of the things I talked about with Tina was I think the whole jury duty process is stupid. I don't think people should have to spend a whole day waiting to get called for jury duty. And then I did all that sitting around and waiting and wasted 2 whole days to get $47 in compensation for that, which only gonna cover my parking having to go downtown courthouse, which I think is very stupid. But anywho, because I don't want to keep dwelling on jury duty, even though those people was guilty, we're gonna head into the news roundup. An American airline flight to Austin was delayed due to a passenger passing gas on the flight. The person who reported this who reported this encounter on Reddit stated that they heard the passenger audibly disgruntled on the flight, and they okay. Tina's having connection issues on her end, so the guy who was being rude on the flight. They say you thought that was rude. Well, how about this? And he just released some gas and then just started arguing with a bunch of the other passengers on the flight. Mind you, they were already on the runway, heading to the runway to take off, and they pulled the airplane back to the gate. They put the airplane back to the gate where the passenger was removed off the plane. Y'all, you know what? This is what happens when you try to do live TV and things don't go right. I'm talking to TikTok family for a minute because she just disappeared again off the screen. I don't know what was going on with that, but I'm gonna keep the show going. So the Journal of American why this is why this is I don't like how they got this written. Journal of American Medical Association that revealed that 519,981 rapes was reported that took place during the time when the abortion ban went into effect. 519,000 that took place within that time period. 60,565 pregnancies came from that. There are still 14 states that still have abortion bans, which includes Alabama, Arkansas, Idaho, Indiana, Kentucky, Oklahoma, Tennessee, Texas, West Virginia. And then locally, where I live at in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, they are now changing where they're trying to get a bill passed now to change. So right now, I believe if you're past 20 weeks, you're not allowed to get an abortion. So now they're trying to lower that down to 14 weeks locally, where I am located here in Wisconsin, which they just made just through some type of law legal here again, where they can go to Planned Parenthood to get these abortions done. I know you have some thoughts on that.
It was overturned here in our state because they it was a judge here that said that the it was and basically they found a loophole. So that's why they were
Mm-hmm.
able to start back up with the abortions. Um, but I only knew of Planned Parenthood doing the abortions. I don't know if the other abortion clinics have went back up and running because it was some here for the
Mm-hmm.
past 20 years in the same spots. Um, but my feelings on it being the gestational weeks going down from 20 to 14, I'm not completely mad at that.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like at that point in time, your most women are showing or have symptoms or, have missed a period or X, Y, and Z, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
Now, the issue comes from the time when the woman finds out she's pregnant to the time limit that she can get an abortion, um, and actually coming up with the money. Um, that's where it get a little sticky. So like at 20 weeks, it allows people to come up with the money, but the further along you are, the more your abortion is going to cost. Um, and I feel like it's more health risks involved, right? As the fetus starts to grow. So I'm not 100% mad about it being, dwindled down to about 14 weeks. My concern was you can't sit up there and say, oh, 8 weeks. Like 8 weeks, absolutely not. Can't be the cutoff here. A lot of women don't or are just finding out that they're pregnant or had just had a confirmatory test because a lot of women, you have your menstrual cycle so average is every 28 days, so once a month, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
and that's if the woman is having a regular menstrual cycle. So that kind of goes with that being said, um, like if you're not if you so for always in my practice, I tell women if you have an irregular menstrual cycle and you know that you're having unprotected sex, test yourself
Right.
every 6 weeks, right?
Right.
Okay, so you can just kind of come up with that. Like pregnancy tests are very cheap now. They're at Dollar Tree. They're very accurate. I don't know how many people then came in and told me that their Dollar Tree pregnancy test was accurate. If you
I
have
didn't.
insurance, come in and we'll test you. Okay,
I didn't know Dollar Tree sold pregnancy tests. That's new to me.
Dollar Tree, Family Dollar, all of that. I
I
feel
did
like
not
that's one of
know.
those things. I honestly feel like that's one of those things that should be cheap and accurate. I'll be honest with you, Um, but you know, if the cutoff point for an abortion is 8 weeks, like that's like very like it to me, it really ain't no point because most women really don't find out or even get into a doctor's office to set an appointment to actually get that confirmatory test done. They might have had a positive pregnancy test done at home. And then it's like they usually don't want to see women until they are 7 or 8 weeks, you know, into their pregnancy based on the
Mm-hmm.
last menstrual period. So that's kind of yeah. And then it's like after that, if you're the cutoff for abortion is 14 weeks, you really don't have a lot of time to act, right? And then also, you got mechanical abortion and you have chemical abortions. So the cutoff for chemical abortions is much earlier. I want to say it's 8 weeks cutoff. I think. Don't quote me. That's my thought. Um, I believe the abortion pill, and it's actually a set of two pills, I believe, that you take. Um, the cutoff for that is about 8 weeks gestational period. Okay. And it's like you got to have, a positive pregnancy test and you got to get an ultrasound so they can confirm dates, all of that. So that's a process, you know. And it's like you gotta kind of get it in right then and there. And a chemical abortion is cheaper and less invasive because it's it's just it's not a procedure. You're taking a medication and you're early on in your pregnancy. Okay. When you get past that point, that's when they start talking to you about mechanical abortion. So mechanical abortion is when, you know, you have to, it's a lot more steps. So you have to come in, have a consultation, and then you have to come back. Also, you have to have counseling done too during that period of time. Uh, and then that's when they use all of they do it in clinic there. Okay. So I'm not
Hmm.
mad about the 14 weeks. I feel like um, medically it will kind of circumvent a lot of health risks, but anything less of that, and I mean, I'm pro-choice. What a woman, what she want to do with her body, that's her. I know it's a sticky area where it's like if the man wants the baby, should the woman still be able to go get an abortion? Yada yada yada, X, Y, and Z. That's just So right here, right now, it's kind of like if you if you're grown up and you're having unprotected sex with somebody and this comes up or before this come up, sit down, tell people what your beliefs and your values and your morals are. Okay. So there is no ifs, ands, or buts. Okay. So if you're ready for kids, if you're not ready for kids, if you believe in abortion, if you don't believe in abortion, you know, things like that. So when that time does come and you have to make that hard decision, it ain't no, oh, the father wanted the baby, but the mother didn't, and then it's a back and forth about who should have the say so in the person having the abortion. Because right now it's going to be up to the woman, period. You know, and I mean, it's kind of tough to say that the father doesn't have a say so in if he wants the child or not. And I feel like that's a discussion between the man and the woman because the woman might, be like, okay, you wanted the child. I can sign over my rights because I wasn't ready for a child. Or, come to an agreement. You can raise a child until I'm ready to be a mother. It's a lot of ifs, ands, and buts. This is a gray area that I feel like it's never going to be black and white. It's never going to be black and white. And I just, my advice to people is just to open up, have those hard conversations, because we are talking about another human life. Okay. And just make sure that you make a decision that you both are happy with. Um, because that is a decision that's going to ride with you for the rest of your life. I'm sorry, I went on a rant. The end.
Well,
My bad.
for the sake of time
That
management, we got to move on. We got to move on to car insurance.
car
So this was reported
insurance.
by Fox. Yep, this was reported by Fox News that
Okay.
car insurance rates are expected to go up by 7% for the year 2024. 7% increase for 2024. And what
Oh
car
no,
insurance
you're
that you have,
frozen.
it could be either 6 months. It could be either 6 months or 12 months. So for New York, they are paying for. I'm guessing these are like 6 month premiums. So New York, they are paying $3,374. In Nevada, they are paying $2,974. Florida is $2,970. Delaware, which state tax, I don't understand why they so high, is $2,806. Louisiana is $2,700. Washington D.C. is $2,756. South Carolina is $2,680. Maryland is $2,645. Michigan is $2,640. Rogue Island is $2,452, and those are the states paying the highest in insurance rate right now, with the expected 7% increase in car insurance. Me personally, I feel like car insurance is a ripoff. I hate that I have to have insurance. I mean, it's a good thing to have, but I feel like these car insurance companies are getting over on just what could probably happen to your car. Like, what if you can go 10, 15, 20 years without having to pay the car insurance, without having an accident or using your car insurance, that over that course of time you don't pay this company $60,000 to cover if something might happen. But then when something happens, you still have to pay them out of pocket, even though you don't been paying them for X amount of years. Even if you car insurance company, guys a deductible, even though I haven't made no accident claims in 10 years. Like that is ridiculous, and
So,
that's really my thought on that.
so for those plausible 6 month premiums, I hope those are 6 month premiums. Um, I don't pay that in a year here.
Yeah, so yeah,
Okay.
these yeah those are the states with the highest insurance, and that's because
Okay. And
people
is
afford
that
that
based
more.
off of brand new cars or certain types of cars, or is that just like an average?
Just an average.
And then, okay, so that averages in their driving record as well, I'm assuming, right? Because if you got a clean
Yeah,
driving
so
record, then your insurance is less.
yeah, 'cause
Zip
my
codes, all
premium
of
right
that.
now is like $900 for 6 months.
Okay, but you got a brand new car.
Yeah, it's yeah.
He bougie, y'all. He always got a brand new car. He always got a brand new car.
I
I
I
just
is
want to put
not
that out
bougie.
there.
I do not always have a
Yeah.
brand new car. I do
You done
not
had
always
more
have a
cars
brand new
than I've
car.
had in my life, and I'm older.
I, I have not had that many.
You have.
Well,
You have.
I kept buying cars until I found something that I actually like. So now I actually like the vehicle that I drive. So boom, there you go. Oh, but to keep the news roundup going, three Kansas City Chief fans was found dead. They went over to a friend's house to watch the game. These three men never came home. The girlfriend questioned the friend, like, "Hey, have you seen them? They haven't came home." The friend said, "No, he hasn't seen them." The girlfriend goes over to the house, and I guess she gets in the house somehow, and she finds one of the missing people dead. She calls the police, and when the police arrived, they found the guys frozen in the backyard. And then upon the girlfriend arriving at the property, the three guys who were missing cars was parked in the driveway of the man's house who they was over. So this man is claiming that he has absolutely no clue of what happened to us. And it's like, how do you not know what happened to your friends? How do you not know that your friends disappeared? How do you know where they are and their cars are parked at your house? You're not questioning like why their cars are parked at your house and you don't see them. Did they say anything to you about it? Just absolutely nothing. This is what this is when that's why y'all need to make sure that y'all choose your friends wisely, because when you don't choose your friends wisely, you end up dead. And that's what happened in this situation. I don't know if the Chiefs won, so I don't understand. Like he could have because of the Chiefs lost the game because they won. So it's like, did he just decide to kill his friends and throw them in the backyard to freeze to death, or what? Like what happened? Why didn't they? And if it's 3-on-1, how not fight back? Did he drug them? It's so many questions that is unanswered right now.
I mean, you act like somebody can't fight three people at one time.
Who?
Did you say it was 3-on-1? So why do people assume that one person can't handle three people?
I mean, it's true. Depending on their level of crazy, I feel like depending on your level of crazy, it depends on how many
No,
people will have.
your level of
Well, yeah,
skill, right? So everybody can't fight.
yeah, your skill level. You right, but when we talking about average. I don't know how to say this without sounding, um,
So
average
this is
people.
my thing, right?
I
So okay, so you got to factor in if weapons were involved or available. If people were, so you said it was a gang, so people probably were drinking, right? So they weren't really up on their reflexes, X, Y, and Z, probably, right?
right.
I'm assuming people were drinking because most people that watch football do drink. So Number two, element of surprise because it seems like there's no reason. Okay, so it's just kind of like it's a lot of ifs, ands, or buts. So like, was everybody sitting on the couch and he just knocked everybody over the head at the same time, or did he catch everybody when they were slipping on the way to the car and when nobody else around? Like, it's a lot of things, or people just, when they are encountered with that type of violence, they just freeze up. They can't really think, like they don't hop up and get okay, I gotta, they don't believe it's happening, unfortunately, and they just freeze up and make a bunch of noises and don't really like, what I'm saying, defend themselves or whatever. So it's just a lot of
Right.
that. I'm not one of them people. Don't get it twisted. Neither one of us are one of them people. Don't get it twisted. Because number one, I can't say I'm never going to be somewhere with a person that can exhibit that level of crazy, right? That wants to murder people. I can't say that, but I can say that I keep a tight circle of friends and I'm very careful about who I'm around. And if I don't know you, I'm not going to get intoxicated, right? I'm not going to be under the influence of anything. That's not going to happen. And I watch the whole room. So I'm a watcher. If I go somewhere I've never been, or even if I have been somewhere that I've been, I still watch everybody in their actions and everything else. I do feel like it probably was some kind of hints and clues, some very subtle hints and clues. Somebody could have got into an argument or disagreement about something previous before this, and one person may have thought that it smoothed over, and the other person that did all of this stuff could have been harboring some, holding a grudge.
I agree with you. I guess until the trial happens, we won't really know what happened in that house unless that man tells us what happened, and more likely, whatever he tells us probably won't be exactly accurate to what happened. We'll never know unless they got some really good forensic scientists people there who can do their job and recreate what happened. But to keep things
Yeah,
going, because
he's going to
we
give
got
his recollection of events. Yes.
right. So stuff to cover in this episode. So remember on the last episode we talked about how the police officers raided the house, lady, and they threw the flowers in the house, and the baby was on the
With the
ventilator.
baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
the guy who video we used who told the story, he posted an update to the story, and I have that video for y'all to watch. So here we go. And for you audible listeners, I will try to post this on the Facebook and YouTube pages. So here we go.
So a lot of you responded to the story of Baby Waylon. If you don't know what I'm talking about, on TikTok, you can click on that comment to see. Otherwise, brief recap. Baby Waylon, who has special needs and is on a ventilator, police went to serve a warrant at a house where he and his mother were at, and she claims that in the process of that, flashbangs and other things that might have been used by police caused chemical irritation both to his eyes, and then he is suffering from damage to his lungs, or injury to his lungs, I should say. As a result of those, and police are denying that. They're saying that they didn't use any flashbangs inside the house, they used them outside the house. Now, the good news is this story is getting traction, both nationally in the United States and also internationally, this story being in the UK. So people all over are taking notice and definitely paying attention and wanting to know what went wrong here. Now, as I said before, police claim that they didn't set off flashbangs in the house, that the mother was being untruthful or was mistaken, however you want to phrase it. But they were saying they didn't do that, and the mayor and the police released body cam footage yesterday showing what really happened. And I'm just going to play the body cam for you because I don't think it absolves them in the way that they think it does.
Police, search warrant, come to the door!
So we saw two bangs go off. One of them is kind of blocked by the officer over here on this side of the screen. And there was another one over here, and I have a different angle of that, so you can get a much better view of what happened.
Search warrant! Coming down the stairs! You're good, man.
So while that was outside, it blew out the window, sending glass showering down on the officer, and also sending glass and debris and smoke into that room onto whoever was in there, like baby Waylon. But I have had few, and it's very few, but a few that have reached out and said things like, oh, you should have waited for the body cam. Paints a very different picture. No, it really doesn't. There's enough there that backs up her statement that could allot for why the baby experienced that reaction. Or people who are like, oh, in the footage, she doesn't seem as concerned about her son as she claimed to be in her Facebook post. You are not there. You are not dealing with that trauma. Something like that happens so quickly and there's so much going on. You know, what she was feeling internally and what she externally stated in a moment of shock and distress, you cannot judge someone based on that. But I also had some people who were trying to spin other things. Like, I don't know where it came from. I couldn't find the police making this statement. But I had people say, oh, the police weren't there for a teenager. They were there for guns, and it was for that address, and they had a right to be there. Oh, this family's not being truthful. Let me get rid of that right now. In the body cam footage, one of the officers makes the statement, it's the wrong house. Police have since corrected that. He was mistaken saying that. It was the right house, as in it was the address on the warrant that they were supposed to go to. However, this news publication says that when they obtained a copy of it, it did include that address, but the document was for a teen suspect, even though the house is now owned by the aunt and uncle of the mother of Waylon. Rita and Marlon Jennings both are adamant they have no connection to the suspect. I feel like a little bit of detective work probably would have went a long way, Rita Jennings stated, because I conducted a simple Google search and found the previous tenants in about 6 seconds. In fact, the previous tenants, the teen suspect they were looking for, allegedly lived just down the street from where these folks live. So they moved just down the street from where they used to live, and police went to the old address instead of the correct address, which is where the person lives now. So yeah, police were at the address that was on the warrant. And did they wait long enough between knocking and entering? Probably. Were they within their rights of protocol to use that flash device? Probably. But someone still dropped the ball, because the person they were looking for was not at that address. They had bad intel. They didn't know that a young mother and a special needs baby were in that home, and that may have changed how they entered. And listen, there's a reason that flashbangs are called less than lethal and not non-lethal, because they can seriously injure or kill. Like this baby, police went to serve a warrant at the house where this baby was at, threw a flashbang in, landed in this child's crib and blew up in their face. They lived, but they had severe injuries and burns as a result. Someone screwed up. Someone had bad information that led to that warrant, that led to these chain of events, and now this baby and this family are suffering, and someone needs to pay for that. Now, the family did launch a GoFundMe. If you go to GoFundMe and type Justice for Waylon, it'd come up. When I posted it yesterday, it was at like 19K. Now it's over 35. So that's great. This is for medical costs as well as like legal costs for them to pursue the fact that they were wronged in this situation. If you want to contribute to that, you can. Otherwise, any new information that comes along, I'll be happy to bring it to you.
Somebody getting fired. Somebody needs to be fired. The fact that the previous tenants that they're looking for, after was it the mom or the auntie did a Google search, that these people.
So,
Guys couldn't
first
do
of all, I hate to hear
investigation and figure out these people move down the street.
Yeah. So my thing is, like, if you're looking for somebody with guns, right? A teenage suspect, like, I don't know when the mom and the baby got there, because I remember in the our previous podcast episode, we were talking about how she was there. She wasn't even from there. She was there because her baby was supposed to be getting open surgery,
They
right?
was from Kentucky.
Yeah.
She was already there, or she got there the week before.
So okay, so the night before. So my thing is, in my head, before you're going to execute a warrant like that with that much manpower, like, why do you not have somebody watching that house, seeing that it is, you're supposed to assess casualties, things like that that can possibly go wrong. So you don't really know who's in the house. Now you thinking the person that is supposed to be in the house ain't in the house, but then it's like, when did they move down the street? Because if you were so it's a teenager, right? And it didn't look like it was any snow or whatever on the ground. So the teenager is probably walking up and down the street. It's a teenager. I don't know if he was in school, whatever. All of that shit is public record. Like, okay,
But
you
that current
couldn't
family that
trail
lived
the
there, they lived
suspect.
there. They lived there for a year. Actually, people own houses. They lived in that house for a
That's
whole entire year.
so that's what I'm
So that
saying.
means
It's
that
like,
y'all ain't watched this house. Y'all ain't do y'all research in a whole year on this suspect that y'all was looking for.
so unless it was they got intel that the guns were not at his residence and were still at that residence, then that was something different. But in the same aspect, to me, before I make a move like that, I'm going to do my due diligence and watch that house, right? Okay, so now you got somebody new coming in with a baby, right? And now you need to rethink how you're going to enter this home. If you haven't seen the suspect going in and out the home, usually, I mean, we watch movies and stuff like that, but movies, I don't feel like it's too far off of what the protocols are for police, military, X, Y, and Z, right? They give the green light when they know that suspect is there, because they were looking for the suspect and not necessarily the guns. If they would have got the suspect and the guns at the same place, that would have been great. But everybody ain't stupid like that and keep their whatever they got going on in the same place where they would be laying their head. So it's just so sad to me, because that mother and her child were there for that baby to have heart surgery, right? Now, from the video, from the picture in the video, you could see that the baby has a trach in its neck. So that's what the baby being on a ventilator, very young child, has come this far, which is great, right? And I want to stress how rare it is for a human being that size and that age to actually have to undergo heart surgery. Okay? It is a blessing that the baby made it to this age for them to be able to sustain such an invasive procedure. Heart surgery is not dependent, no matter your age, your health, no nothing, right? It's always going to be a very, very difficult and hard surgery on that body. So I hate that this happened to this mother, and especially to that child. Whoever gave the green light for that, because somebody is behind the scenes giving a green light for them to execute that warrant, right? Based on whatever intel they have. And it's like, with that many people, they have open communication or comms during the whole incident. And it's like, when you hear somebody say, "Oh, this is the wrong house," what do you mean this is the wrong house? The person isn't there. What? And then just going back to our previous episode, like them handcuffing her with her saying her baby was in there, and then they waited an extended amount of time to go check on the child.
Right.
So definitely, yes, it's a mess, and head should roll. Absolutely.
And I hope that that city for everything she can get.
And to be honest with you, they lucky that
gonna make
she
her
was.
baby feel better, but
To be honest with you, they're lucky that that family was so compliant with what was going on. You know what I'm saying? I cannot imagine somebody doing that shit in my house. I ain't did nothing. I don't know about who you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know about who they coming to look for. And you done came to this house numerous of times and been told that that person is not there. Okay? And you still come in my house like that? In broad daylight. First of all, it's embarrassing. And now you have inflicted harm on my child. And then I'm telling you, my child is in there, and I know my child is not in the best of health. I'm gonna flip out. I would have been in jail for a reason.
I wonder, and type of situations where, okay, yeah, we fucked up and we hit the wrong house, is the city gonna pay for the damages to the property costs also, is what I wonder.
They will have to sue. They have to sue, put a lawsuit out there, and then they
Cause
can
not only
recover those
yeah,
damages.
okay, because not only did y'all flashbang, knocked out two of my windows and you kicked in my front door. And ain't no telling what other damage y'all did while y'all was tearing up the house looking for this person that wasn't here and don't even live
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
Not even
And
registered
then
as a
it just
resident or on my or the deed to my house.
so shout out to everybody that did, donate to that GoFundMe for that baby. First of all, heart surgery is not cheap. Insurance is not going to pay for all of it. So I really hope that that baby does recover from that. Because I believe the baby had, was it pneumonitis? They
Something I
had
can't remember
the
the
baby had.
diagnosis.
Okay, it was some kind of respiratory infection that the baby had going on, right? Because they
Mm-hmm.
were already predisposed to getting those type of things, being on a ventilator. So, you know, every little bit that people contribute to, I would just like for people just to, and she hadn't reached out before to ask for people to cover the baby's heart surgery. She was just there minding her business. And
Right.
now it's like
Exactly.
the baby's surgery has been postponed because the effects of the police not doing their job correctly has postponed. The baby got a lung infection or whatever, a respiratory infection, and now they have to postpone the surgery because you
Mm-hmm.
can't operate on somebody's heart and their lungs
And then ain't no
ain't
telling
doing
what
what they're
else
supposed to do.
no telling what else issues can happen in between that baby between now and that baby getting a heart surgery, or if that baby will make it to getting a heart surgery. So that police department do need to have some type of accountability for what they did, because that's just ridiculous at that point.
We don't even know what kind of timeline this family is on for the baby to have that surgery
Right.
successfully. That's sad.
So we have to move on to our next topic, and this is more of an update. So I don't know, because this kind of got swept on the rug after it happened, but you remember that time period where um you had the guy who went up to the he went to, I guess he's picking up his little brothers and sisters from daycare. He went to the wrong door and he knocked on the door, and the old man opened up his door and shot him. So we have an update on that story, and then we have another update on the story where it was a group of teens going to a party, and a man said that him and his wife was in the house sleep, and he opened up the door and started shooting, and his wife was hiding in the house with a gun too. And it was just some kids. They just drove up a random driveway, and it was at the wrong house, and the guy just decided to shoot them. So I do have an updates to those stories. So check out this video right
We
here.
just got a verdict for the man who says he accidentally fired a 20-gauge shotgun at a car that mistakenly pulled into his driveway, killing the 20-year-old female driver. Also an update on Ralph Yarl, who the same month knocked on the wrong door and was then shot through the still closed glass door. Though Yarl's case has months to go before trial, we aren't getting much info about the man who shot him. I'll explain more on that in a bit. You may also remember that same April month when 2 cheerleaders were shot in Elgin, Texas when they opened the door of the wrong car. And also that same month, a man shot a 6-year-old girl and her parents when her ball rolled into his yard. On the night of April 15, 2023, the defendant Kevin Moynihan fired 2 shots with a 20-gauge shotgun, one of which struck the car carrying 20-year-old Kaylin Gillis, who was hit in the neck and died soon after. Gillis and a group of 6 friends had been trying to find a friend's house for a Saturday night party when they drove up Moynihan's half-mile-long driveway in the rural town of Hebron, New York. During the 2-week trial, Moynihan, now 66, testified that the fatal shot was an accident, with the gun spontaneously firing after he tripped on his porch. He said he had initially fired the first shot as a warning shot after seeing a caravan of 2 cars and a motorcycle arrive at his house that night. He was described by his lawyer as a, quotes, old man who had been asleep and had been terrified that a group of, quotes, marauders had come to attack him and his wife Jinx, who was hiding inside and also armed with a gun. Though authorities believed the vehicles were already beginning to turn around and leave before Moynihan began his apparent defensive actions, it took less than 2 hours to return 3 guilty verdicts, including reckless endangerment and tampering with evidence related in part to his efforts to clean the shotgun after the shooting. Prosecutors also used body cam footage and 911 calls to show that Moynihan and his wife had initially lied to authorities, telling a police officer who arrived shortly after the shooting that they had no visitors that night. In the moments following the shooting, the victim's boyfriend tried to find a cell phone signal while CPR was being done on the victim. A sentencing date has yet to be determined. That very same month, Ralph Yarl went to house to pick up his siblings from daycare but went to the wrong house. He knocked on the door and 84-year-old Andrew Lester opened the main door with the glass door still closed. According to Yarl, after knocking on the door and waiting for quotes a long time, Lester then almost immediately raised a gun and shot through the glass door. Yarl then fell to the ground and then managed to run away. On-scene evidence supports the glass door was still closed with the main door open. And while Lester's account of that day has not been made public, what is public is the following. Lester has been charged with 1 count of felony assault in the first degree and 1 count of armed criminal action. Lester pleaded not guilty and was released on $200,000 bond. Lester's attorney has since argued for a protective order for his client, arguing that Lester's home has been defaced and he has relocated 3 times since the incident. The attorney also argued that Lester has been harassed and has received death threats because of the attention the case has gotten across the country, and the speculation the shooting was racially motivated. The judge granted the order, which involves sealing much of the information around Lester from the public, stating in his ruling, quote, "Such conjecture of a racial motive in reporting of the case negatively affects defendant's fundamental right to a fair trial on the merits." In a positive update for Yarl, the now 17-year-old's traumatic brain injury from the shooting apparently hasn't stopped him from continuing to be a gifted bass clarinetist, and this month was named to the 2024 Missouri All-State Band.
So I felt like we needed those much needed updates to those stories that.
So I did hear about the young black man getting into it. So he didn't let that stop him. Like he recovered and he rehabbed himself and he did make it into the main. So that's wonderful. I love it because that was his love. That's what he wanted to do. But I mean, so I don't know how you feel about. So it's really hard to say if and or buts. If it was racially motivated or not, I don't know, because he is an older man. You saw how he was walking. He's in a frail, fragile state. He could have been, depending on, it could have been anybody coming to his house. He didn't know. He may have acted that way. We don't know. We don't know.
But the thing
very
is,
important.
Okay, like they said, the screen door, the glass door, which would really mean like the screen door was still closed. So if the screen door was still closed, and this young man did not make an attempt to open up your door, try to even approach you, why would you just open fire and shoot? Still, like that makes any sense. Like, just that's the part where I would have said, like, now if the young man would have opened up the door and he decided to shoot, like, because I don't know who this person is, that he decided to shoot. Okay, yeah, that's fine. But then I would be like, okay, that's a somewhat justified shooting. But then the fact that he was just standing there like, hey, I'm here to pick up my little brothers and sisters, and waited at the door, and you decided that you're just going to shoot him because he was waiting at your door, like, you didn't say, well, you could have been like, hey, you're at the wrong house, or what are you talking about? You could have started the conversation. Like, apparently he came off as friendly. So it's almost like he didn't go into the house. You can talk to him through the glass door, the screen door. So it's like you just basically saw, oh, black person, and black person at my door, shot him. Like, no.
So yes, I agree with you on that aspect, but again, I'm gonna play devil's advocate here because I play devil's advocate the best. Like, we can't say, we don't know what the interaction was between the two people, right? We don't know. And we don't know what, previous things he has experienced, things like that. And I mean, glass is glass. If a person has a weapon, they can come through that glass. Now, it's a screen door, So he didn't feel safe, unfortunately, but for you to pull out a shotgun, I don't know what it was. It's like, do they have a conversation? and the young man wasn't leaving off his property, and he told him to go. He wasn't going, and then it escalated from there. I don't know. We don't know, but I'm sorry to hear that he had a TBI, traumatic brain injury. But I love to see that he did recover somewhat from it, and he's still pursuing his dream. Now, as far as the previous story with the husband and wife,
that was just crazy.
now we can't say that's racially motivated because they killed somebody from their own race, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it sounds like a lot of paranoia, right? Wrapped into just a lot of craziness. Because why was both of y'all armed? Whatever you can, I don't know what state it happened in, stuff like that. But for somebody that's lost and you see a car full of females, right? Because she was with friends, so I'm assuming they were all females.
Well, it was a guy with them too, but the thing is, the car turned. They realized they was in the wrong place, and they was turning around leaving. So they was turning around leaving, and these cars is leaving off your property, and you still decided I'm just going to shoot to these cars. Like,
first of all, why is your driveway a half a mile long?
That's how you know they like one of those houses they live like what they call rural area.
You in a rural area. You're in a rural area, and I'm pretty sure they're not the first people that came up on your driveway and realized once they finally got to your house they were at the wrong house.
Oh, this ain't the right house. Like they're
right. Right. So yeah, so throw them under the cell. Throw them under the cell. Okay. So I feel some type of way when
and he cleaned the gun trying to hide that he shot his gun too.
So he said he let off a warning shot, and then the other one was accidental that actually killed the girl. Like, how's it accidental? That means you had your finger on the trigger. You had your finger on the trigger and you tripped. Okay, whatever, but that was a perfect shot. So you were already aiming at the car. You're not going to tell me that. You know what I'm saying? And then you had a shotgun, okay? So shotgun don't have a lot of range. So you were close enough to that car for them pellets to go through and hit her in the neck. You hit her in the neck, so you were aiming.
Right, exactly. Throw the whole book at them. All right, because we getting down to the crunch time when we still got a ton of stories to get through. So this next one, they got to deal with this crazy lady, which I don't know how this lady got voted into office. Whatever state that she represents, I believe it's Florida or Georgia, but I believe it's Florida. I'm 100% sure it's Florida now that I think about it. In Florida, if y'all vote for this woman again and give her another 4 years, I'm just going to be convinced that everybody that lives in Florida or who votes in Florida are just complete morons and should be getting some type of locked up in a mental institution or something like that. So I'm going to play these two clips right here, and I just want y'all to listen to how dumb this woman is. And this is Marjorie Taylor Greene, again, making an ass of herself.
One more thing that we have to recognize and address is under President Biden, the Department of Justice prosecuted criminals, prosecuted child predators, prosecuted terrorism.
I'm just going to let that sink in real fast. I'm just going to let that sink in. She's mad because under Joe Biden's presidency, they prosecuted criminals. They prosecuted rapists and murderers and all these other kind of things. And she's mad because they're getting terrible people off the street. Like, why are you mad? Because they're prosecuting people who are committing crimes, and not just any old crime, violent crimes. Like, it's the law that these people get prosecuted, and she's upset that this is happening. Like, why are you mad that rapists and child sex abusers or whatever these people are being prosecuted? You should want these people to be prosecuted.
So I've never been a big fan off of when people say women should stay in their place and in the kitchen or X, Y, and Z, but she is
She one of
one
them
of those people. She one of them people.
She needs to stay in her. She needs to be in the kitchen barefoot and pregnant, huh?
Not even pregnant, because I don't
Not.
need her.
Well, yeah,
Let me
she
shut up.
doesn't need to reproduce, right? You're right. You're right. Let me play this
So
next clip because this is her making an ass of herself again.
Right now.
So we can officially say the Biden-Harris campaign has dementia just like the president. They forgot to put him on the ballot and their voters are having to write it in. And he's losing. Joe Biden is losing the write-in here in New Hampshire. You can't say anything more pathetic than that.
Marjorie Taylor Greene, ladies and gentlemen, and we can all think of a few things more pathetic than what you just described. Number one, being completely wrong on air while you're talking about a subject. Biden was never losing. He won by 75% of the votes and was the first time in American history that a candidate has won a primary contest via write-in. So he did not stop by and campaign because they were campaigning in other states, so come back later. He didn't need to campaign. That's how strong he is in the state of New Hampshire. But I would say this, Marjorie, maybe lay off the cocktails before you go live on air because, once again, you look like a complete idiot on camera saying that he was losing when that never happened. And yes, you are pathetic, and anything you describe will never be more pathetic than you are. Go Joe.
I told you the level of stupid that comes out of that lady mouth. It was a primary election in New Hampshire where they are deciding
how many
which one of
electoral
the,
votes do they have?
like they're deciding which Republican is going to run for president against try to run for the presidency against Joe Biden. That was the whole point of that election. That's why he was not on the ballot. And considering that he wasn't on the
Oh my
ballot, it
God.
still won 75% of the vote as a write-in, which has never happened before. Just shows her how stupid she is. And then she went on live TV and had the nerves to talk about just like Joe Biden's presidency, the dementia. Like, what is wrong with her? Like, at some point, like, I feel like other people in her party, like, you know what, we should just like have her like
Somebody need to pull her to the side and stage an intervention. Is what it sounds like. You can't
like
pull her
something
ass to the side
because
because she making
I
y'all
cannot
look
with
real
this lady.
bad. Like, who is she?
This is the same woman who was in the Supreme, was at the Supreme Court or at the Capitol building or wherever they was having this meeting at, and she's showing Hunter Biden news all over the floor. Like, come
Oh,
on.
her. Oh,
Yes,
she's stupid. Okay.
Yes, she's stupid. This is
Okay.
she's stupid.
Okay. Okay.
Oh my
Okay.
gosh,
Yeah,
she
she's
irritates
stupid.
me so much. And then
She just
speaking,
like that's stupid.
and then speaking of which is the topic of this, the title of this episode was Trump and the Supreme Court. It was a breakdown of what has happened with Trump and the Supreme Court, and it was I'm gonna play the clip for y'all and discuss it.
I also want to note that some people may wonder, well, if he's not on the ballot.
Hold on.
There go Corey.
I skipped ahead. So this is about Trump being taken off the ballot in 4 states. So here we go.
I also want to note that some people may wonder, well, if he's not on the ballot, can people just write him in? Well, in this opinion, they specifically say that the Secretary of State is also barred from counting any write-in votes cast for Trump.
14th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution says, and I'm quoting now, no person shall hold any office who, having previously taken an oath to support the Constitution of the United States, shall have engaged in insurrection or rebellion against the same, or given aid or comfort to the enemies thereof. Pretty significant 14th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. Minnesota, in New Hampshire, in Michigan, and right now in Colorado, it's going forward to remove him. Alyssa, how do you expect Trump and his team to react to this stunning news?
Okay, so we don't even need to play the rest of that clip. So, like they just said, for you all that are watching on TikTok, in Minnesota, Michigan, Colorado, and I forgot the other state, but it's 4 states where Trump has been taken off the ballot because due to the 14th Amendment, it clearly states that anybody who engages in an insurrection against the United States cannot run for the presidency. And yet here we are. So it's like, so if this is a 14th Amendment where he's basically been guilty of encouraging these people and inciting an insurrection against the United States of America, and if it says it in the 14th Amendment that you cannot run for that said office because of that amendment, why are they still letting him campaign and run for president? Like at this point, he should not be allowed to run at this point. And whoever was the next runner, whatever, as far as the Republican Party should now take his place. And that's really what I think should happen. He should not be allowed to run for president.
So who makes those decisions? Like say, hey,
the Supreme Court made that decision. That came down from the Supreme Court.
No, I'm saying like who is the police for that type of stuff? Like it's always the Supreme Court because then he appoint all of the Supreme Court justices.
Yep. So he's
okay.
So yeah. So when it comes to him appointing his Supreme Court justices, that's in the next video clip that we're gonna discuss that. But yeah, he did put in a lot of Supreme Court justices into basically to be able to get what he wants, because he actually he basically took credit for making abortions illegal again. He took credit for that. He said he put these people in that position to set that up so that way that abortions can be overturned.
Everybody's not Catholic, okay?
Right. Everybody's not right.
Everybody's not Catholic. People do believe in birth control and abortions.
Right.
I just want to put that out there.
Right. So I want to move into the next part of this this whole Trump story that's unfolding, because there's more to this part of this Trump story, and when it comes to the Supreme Court, and then there's another story about what they want to, what a senator in Florida want taxpayers to do for Donald Trump. So we're going to keep this story going.
I also want to.
We've got a pretty brilliant move by the Colorado Supreme Court here. So you know by now that the Colorado Supreme Court has barred Donald Trump from appearing on the Republican primary ballot in that state, finding that he engaged in insurrection on January 6th and is therefore not eligible to serve as president. But it turns out that the Colorado Supreme Court did something expressly intended to bolster its own case when it inevitably reaches the U.S. Supreme Court, specifically with one of the Supreme Court's conservative justices. In 2012, Neil Gorsuch, who at that time was a circuit court judge, ruled on a case involving whether the then Colorado Secretary of State, Scott Gessler, remember that name, it's important, acted properly when he declared an independent candidate for president named Abdul Hassan was ineligible because he was born in Guyana, meaning he wasn't a natural-born citizen and therefore ineligible under the Constitution. Gorsuch found that Secretary of State Scott Gessler acted within his rights in keeping him off the ballot. That decision read, quote, "A state's legitimate interest in protecting the integrity and practical functioning of the political process permits it to exclude from the ballot candidates who are constitutionally prohibited from assuming office." Meaning in 2012, Neil Gorsuch recognized that the plain text of the Constitution includes certain prohibitions to being president, including being a natural-born citizen. The others, of course, being the age requirement of 35 years old and that you cannot have engaged in or given aid or comfort to those who've engaged in insurrection. And so just as a state has a, quote, legitimate interest in protecting the integrity and practical function of the political process, Neil Gorsuch's words, not mine, then a state can exclude candidates who are constitutionally prohibited from assuming office. Again, Neil Gorsuch's words, not mine. So if the U.S. Supreme Court is looking for the person who made this argument best, they don't have to look further than one of the sitting conservative justices, Neil Gorsuch. Also, and this is according to Business Insider, it's worth noting that one of Donald Trump's current lawyers is a guy named Scott Gessler, the former Colorado Secretary of State, whose office in 2012 kept Abdul Hassan off the ballot for president because he wasn't qualified based on the Constitution. In other words, Trump's attorney arguing that the Constitution shouldn't apply to Donald Trump is the same guy who himself undermined that very argument a decade ago, and whose actions were supported by Neil Gorsuch. These people are the living embodiment of the fact that this ruling by the Colorado Supreme Court should absolutely stand. With that said, I want to be clear-eyed about the fact that this case is going to be appealed to the U.S. Supreme Court, and that court has a very lopsided 6-3 composition in favor of conservatives, and that Donald Trump himself appointed a third of the entire bench. Beyond that, we've already watched as the U.S. Supreme Court's overturned past precedent, like with Roe versus Wade, for example, and that was despite repeated promises by the justices themselves during their confirmation hearings that nothing is more sacred than precedent, meaning their words don't actually mean much, and that now that they have power, they've shown a willingness to exercise it in a way that's most politically beneficial for them. With that said, here's where I draw hope. If the Supreme Court reverses the Colorado Supreme Court's ruling and decides that Trump can appear on the ballot, then it's effectively ignoring the plain text of the U.S. Constitution, and in doing so, placing Donald Trump above the Constitution. And that poses an existential threat to that very court. If they place Trump above the Constitution and Trump wins, he will essentially be a dictator, uninhibited by our laws or the Constitution, with the blessing of the highest court in the nation. And what does a dictator have no need for? A Supreme Court that acts as a check to his own power, meaning the Supreme Court could essentially be signing its own death warrant if it hands Trump the gift of unchecked power. I'm not sure that the Supreme Court, as partisan as it may be, is in the business of contracting its power away to other branches of government. And that's a point that my Legal Breakdown co-host Glenn Kirshner echoed during our most recent episode.
If they are going to rule that a president can attack the United States, can try to, in a very real sense, bring an end to American democracy, if they were to rule that that's good to go by them and by the Constitution, well, then Donald Trump maybe regains the reins of power, finishes the job. He is now a dictator. Let's call it what it is. And if there's one thing that a dictator has absolutely no interest in, it's a Supreme Court. So he would promptly, completely cut the legs out from under the Supreme Court. Heck, he might just try to disband the Supreme Court because the Supreme Court has given him a green light as somebody who engaged in insurrection, tried to overthrow the government, who is again in charge of the very government he tried to overthrow.
And look, I want to be clear that while I'm a Democrat, I don't think we should just kick people off the ballots to help our own chances of winning. But that's not what's happened here. Trump has been found by a number of judges, Judge Carter in California, Judge Wallace in Colorado, and the Supreme Court in Colorado, to have engaged in insurrection. These decisions aren't made lightly, and they are based in evidence. So I get that Republicans want to frame this as election interference, but A, the Constitution is clear, and B, no one forced Donald Trump to do what he did. Inciting an insurrection was his decision. In fact, a number of the insurrectionists themselves admitted in court that they were there on his orders. So the notion that the responsibility falls on the shoulders of anyone but Donald Trump for the insurrection is completely devoid of logic. There's also some obvious irony in a political party that identifies itself as the self-proclaimed defenders of the Constitution that refuses to recognize the plain text of the Constitution simply because it doesn't redound to their political benefit. The Constitution is actually perfectly clear on this issue, and just because the result is perceived by Republicans as being catastrophic isn't a reason not to accept the plain text. Here's Mark Elias explaining exactly that point.
Yeah, and I think that's the right worry, Chris, but it starts not with what the people on the right are going to say, but it's what the people on the left are going to say. You know, the fact is, the audience...
Oh, that was it for the thing. But as you can see, there is a lot at stake with Donald Trump and this whole him getting elected thing again. And think about, with all this evidence being brought forward, and we still have these people like, yeah, he's the best choice to lead this country. Like, what?
So he only able to run because he hasn't been formally charged? Like, he's charged, but like he hasn't been, like, you know what I'm saying, convicted.
I think it's because he hasn't been convicted. That's why. But like they said, there's evidence and it's proof. You like this, that they had people in court that testified and say, yeah, I was there under Donald Trump told me to show up there and do.
We already know. We saw him. He was
on live TV telling these people,
yes,
hey, they're doing a threat. They're threatening your way of living and your democracy and all these other kind of things that he was claiming, and that they should go take back they whatever. And he said this on social media, live TV, and all these other things. So we know that he did these things. They know that he did these things, but yet they're still trying to sweep it under the rug. Like, no.
I would have never thought that in my lifetime it would have been Donald Trump inciting this type of rebellion in America. Like, so my thing is, You're right. So my thing is they need to rewrite the Constitution or put in a clause where it says that if you have pending charges of treason, you cannot run for president.
Mhm. It needs to be something in there
Period.
because it's a
Not if
mess.
you convicted, if it's pending charge, because that's so. I feel
But
like
the fact that
charges of
he's
treason.
the fact that he's going through like 2 or 3 different court cases right now while he's campaigning for president, like he didn't even have, like they stated today that he did not have to show up to any of those court appearances that's against him, like the defamation case, all this stuff. He did not have to show up there, but yet he still decided to show up there to make it a political stunt because he knows gonna be camera crews and people there taking pictures. All the attention is gonna be on him. So he's playing this whole system right now. He's playing these court systems. He's doing all this stuff for publicity in the hope that it'll get people to vote for him or whatever it is. It's not going to happen.
So it's so sad to see that he's run. So I'm gonna say this: it is so sad to see that Joe Biden is running up against him again. I don't understand like what happened to other like Democratic or independent or other people that wanted to be in a presidential race. Maybe they felt like they couldn't win against Donald Trump because they knew Donald Trump was going to probably be the Republican candidate.
Mhm.
But I mean, this is like I'm distraught. I'm like real life distraught over there because I cannot see myself living another 4 years under Donald Trump. And to be honest with you, if he does get elected again, which I hope he don't, and I see so many people, so many minorities saying they're gonna vote for him, like I'm distraught. Like it's like they are
What if,
blinded or they don't understand what's going on. They don't understand what
what if he
our
decides
situation
to
is.
what if he decides to eliminate the Emancipation Proclamation? Like y'all got to go back to the cotton fields, and y'all dumbasses was the ones who voted for
You won't see me in a fucking cotton field.
him. But I gotta say, there's more to the story when it comes to Donald Trump. Here's what a senator wants the Floridians to do for him. So here we go.
I need everybody's attention, especially if you're from Florida. I was on Twitter and I saw this tweet that reads, Florida Republicans are now pushing legislation to use taxpayer dollars to pay for Trump's legal bills. One of them said they think taxpayers should be forced to pay for this because, quote, having a Floridian in the White House is good for our state. The bill, SB 1740, appropriately titled Grants for Victims of Political Discrimination, was put forward by Ileana Garcia, a member of the Florida Senate. To briefly get into the article, a Miami Republican who endorsed Trump's re-election has filed a bill for this year's legislative session that could allow the state to hand out up to $5 million to the embattled Republican frontrunner for president. The legislation has already won the endorsement from Jimmy Patronis. Isn't that a spell in Harry Potter? What was that for? The Patronus charm? I think it was. Anyways, the legislation has already won the endorsement from Jimmy Patronis, the state's Republican chief financial officer who for months has been publicly calling for taxpayers to pay to defend Trump from criminal charges. In a quote from Miss Garcia, she said, "We're in the midst of an historic..." Is that proper English? And historic... whatever. A moment while we're watching an election that's trying to be stolen by left-wing prosecutors, the Biden administration, and even blue states. They're not trying to win at the ballot box, they're trying to keep President Trump off the ballot by weaponizing the courts. Having a Floridian in the White House is good for our state, and anything we can do to support Florida presidential candidates like President Trump will not only benefit our state, but our nation. Yeah, I can't wait to read that headline. Florida man becomes president, destroys America. Who could have seen it coming? Me. That woman wants Floridians to pay for this man's legal bills. Hey, I'll tell you what, if Republicans down in Florida want their taxpayer money to go towards helping Trump, then I think they should have a choice to do so. But to the few Democrats down in Florida who are trapped and simply cannot escape, if they do not want their taxpayer money going to that man, then they should be able to opt out. Basically what I'm saying is I have no problem with this bill if they put a clause in it that says you can opt out of your money going towards him. At the end of the day, right, it's your money. You should be able to pick and choose where it goes. If Republicans want to pay for Trump, let them. But do not force everybody to have to pay for him, you know what I'm saying? Let me know in the comment section what y'all think about this. To the Floridians watching this video, know that I am sincerely sorry. The bright side, it appears that Ron DeSantis does not support this bill.
Okay. So I have some questions. I have some questions. Okay. So is he saying Trump is from Florida?
So Trump currently lives in Florida. So no, Mar-a-Lago, wherever he called it, where he lives at, is in Florida. So he's considered a Floridian because his estate is there. That he's.
I ain't trying to hear that shit. Trump. I looked it up, and I looked it up way before that video you played, that TikTok you played. So Trump was actually born in New York.
Mm-hmm.
He was born at the Jamaica Hospital in Queens, New York.
He from the ghetto.
From the hood, okay? Daddy name was Fred Trump. So his daddy was born in the Bronx, and his daddy parents were German, and his mom was an immigrant from Scotland.
I just wish his mama would have swallowed.
My whole thing is, sir, like you were like, you have immigrant for one. So you have got Scottish and you have German. How did that happen? I don't know. Whatever. It's New York, right? It's New York. So you were born in New York in 1946, the same year my mother was born, right? My father is older than Trump. But, like, I don't. So I feel like Donald, this shit is just like blowing me. Like, I have so many like feelings and emotions towards this. Like, Donald Trump don't give a fuck about this country, period, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's only doing this to say he did this in his lifetime. Like, he was born in 46, so he's getting to the age of 80, right? So he's only doing this shit because he's bored. And I don't know why people don't, you know, so his real estate and his, you know, his hotels are failing. You know, he's coming up against all these allegations, fraud, and like, not fraud. Well, yeah, basically fraud, where he's with the taxes and all of that stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, now you want to add something onto your resume to say, I did this. That's the only reason. That is the only reason why I feel like Donald Trump is running for president. And that's the only reason why he.
And he gets that $400,000 a year for the rest of his life, too.
Whatever, that's not really a lot of money for him. I'm be honest. Like, Donald Trump is used to getting millions.
With all his business failings, it might be a lot of money to him right now.
It might be a lot of money to him. You know, it might be. But I mean, you already got that for life. You get what I'm saying? Because you were president already for one time. I don't know if they double that shit when you get elected for president.
I think it's just the fact that he don't want to be that guy who I was only elected for one term. Like, I think the last president that's elected for one term was Bush back in the 80s when he was elected. So he the first president since the 80s to only serve one term. So what? Go be honest. And I feel like at this point, we need anybody that was born before 1980 needs to be out of office.
So I feel like we need somebody that don't care about simple shit like that, right? That actually care about the country and what's going on with the country, because we in a fucking free fall right now. Like, and we're so vulnerable on all different aspects, right? Like military, like financial, like all of that shit. Our fucking like economy can crumble at the drop of a hat. You know what I'm saying? We're trying to rebuild our economy. We don't need all of his bullshit and the stupid shit that he talking about. Like he not even talking about no shit I even care about. You know, like you took it upon your presidency and you made it so you banned abortion. Like what does that have to do with the fucking economy? Like I don't care about if somebody decides if they have an abortion or not. I don't care.
But it's just the fact
I'm trying to figure out how I live and pay my bills. That is my primary objective with my kids and my family, what I got going on. Like, how do you ease the burden of the rest of the Americans that are trying to live post-COVID? Because we think you got something to do with COVID.
He's throwing money at it, because during he talk about how much he talk about, well, you know, Joe Biden spent this amount of money to go into the economy or whatever. But once again, inflation is down to 3.03% right now. Our far as our goods that we shipping out is at the highest it's been in probably decades. So it's like the money that he spent has made our economy somewhat better, and it got the price of food down. Like me and you were saying, gas hasn't been going up 10, 20, 30 cents every couple of weeks or whatever. So that's been at a steady thing. So, but then at the same time, when Trump was in office, he spent $8 trillion on what? He spent $8 trillion.
He gave y'all them stimmies, and everybody was like, "Oh, I got this $1,000 in my pocket because what the fuck is $1,000?" And it depended on how many kids you put on your taxes. So if you didn't have more than one kid on your tax, you didn't get $1,000, right? Or if you didn't have any kids on your tax, you didn't. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was really stupid. And my thing is, to me, poorly. It was. So no, I feel like, so yes and no. So I feel like he had something to do with the pandemic, and then his way of making it seem like he was the hero coming out of that was offering Americans, because it was a pandemic and he had extra funds available for him at that time, he could do something like that and boost his ratings. So how do you fucking send out a fucking, you know what I'm saying? That it's something that we still dealing with.
But he hurt the economy when he did that, because like a lot of stuff like interest rates was low. It was a lot of stuff that was low still at that point. But then you threw all this money into the economy, but when you threw all that money into the economy that we kind of didn't need floating around. I mean, like that money was supposed to be used for, like, you know, to pay people who's behind on rent and stuff like that. It didn't, like, a lot of people didn't use it for what it was supposed to be used for. They really spent it on buying flat screen TVs and shit. So we saw when them stimmy checks came out, how Walmart lowered the price of TVs and all this other kind of shit that they did. So that money was supposed to go back into the economy. But once that money, we had all this excess of money floating into the economy, which caused inflation. And then on top of now we have all this money floating around in the economy, but yet we saying there's a shortage on everything in the economy. So it's like throwing money into it didn't really help the situation at all. You kind of made it a little bit worse. Like, it helped some families out that during that pandemic, when you did send the money out, when he sent out the first round of stimmy checks, I'm like, oh, okay, we can kind of use this right now. But then when he sent out that second one to try to get people to vote for him, it was like, why?
So I feel like that money should have been sent to just businesses in general, where they could have paid their employees if they were shut down, because
like I said, he just used the money. He used the money wrong. When he did the whole putting the money into the economy, he just did it wrong and fucked up the economy.
Yeah, he should have put that into businesses so that would have helped them keep their prices lower, and we still would have, if he would have gave the businesses that money to keep the prices lower, we still would have been able to afford it. Right.
And with the prices lower, with lower prices, we're gonna spend more money. So like you said, he would have gave that money to the businesses instead of putting it directly into the American people hands, gave it to the businesses. Hey, if I give you these incentives, can you keep your prices, or can you lower your prices, or can you figure out a way to keep your manufacturing prices low? And that way these people are going to go, because once again, because they're not, you know, for some people, oh, well, I made it where they don't have to pay rent for 2 months, or they don't have to do this, or they don't have to do that. That's extra money that could have been going into, I'm afraid, go shopping at the store, which is going to help these stores maintain, you know, a certain average or whatever, which didn't happen, because instead he put into the American people pocket money. And then once again, all these companies started claiming, oh, it's a shortage, it's a shortage, it's a shortage. But then y'all claiming that it was a shortage during that time, but then during this shortage, once again, you dropping flat screen TVs down to $200. Y'all having Black Friday sales when y'all steady talking about it's a shortage. So how is it a shortage, but y'all having these amazing Black Friday sales both times when he released these stimulus checks out into the economy? So
it was only the stuff that we actually needed that went up in cost.
Right, and the stuff we don't need it decreased.
Yep.
So he fucked up. So, because we getting really short on time, so I'm gonna play this clip. Some of the other stuff just gonna have to wait to the next week's episode. But I'm gonna play this next clip because you just wonder how some of these people get elected into their position. So here we go.
Breaking news: Alabama Senator Katie Britt has introduced a bill to prevent illegal immigrants from voting in federal elections. Do you support this? Jesus Christ. So when I see headlines like this, I seriously have to sit with myself and ask myself, are the politicians who introduce things like this really that stupid? Or do they really just know that their constituents are this stupid? This is already illegal. Non-U.S. citizens cannot vote in any federal election. That means any election for the House of Representatives, any election for the Senate, and of course, any election for the President of the United States. And yet, this is a real bill that has been introduced. And the funniest but also saddest part of it is that not only is this so stupid, so many comments on the original post are hailing this woman, being like, oh, she's finally doing what we've been asking. She's finally willing to, make the hard decisions, fight the good fight. She's protecting America. She's introducing a bill for a law that's already in place. These people just see the word illegal immigrants and lose their minds. Well, what they have left.
What they have left. Yes.
Oh God.
I agree with that 100%. That's fucking stupid. So this is what I love to see. People that are not minorities calling this shit out.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I like to see. That's what I like to see. 100%. And it seems like it's a lot of people that are not minorities are calling bluffs on all of this bullshit that's going on.
Mm-hmm.
So keep up the good work, y'all. We love to see it. Educate the public. Use TikTok as a platform. Do whatever. TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, use that shit as a platform to get out the information to the public, because a lot of the public don't understand what all the nooks and crannies when it comes to politics.
Right. Well, ladies and gentlemen,
that's my final thought.
This has been the news roundup segment. Was basically mostly the whole entire episode. So after we're gonna go into our videos of the week. All right, let's get into our first video. Here we go.
Y'all, can somebody explain to me why we buy brand new clothes to go out of town and them people ain't even seen our old clothes? Make it make sense.
Tell me you trying to krill fly. It's nothing like having a brand new outfit. You doing them, yeah.
Because I thought about it too. Damn, I did buy some new clothes to go out of town, and then people ain't seen
mine. Me too.
I mean, but you gotta think about it. When you go out of town, you don't want to be seen. When you taking your pictures and you out there, you doing your thing, whatever. You post your pictures on social media. You don't want to have on the same stuff that you wore back home. Oh, that's you wore such and such, but.
It's certain clothes that I would wear out of town that I would not wear here because of the climate, right?
Right.
So it really depends. It really depends. But I get what he's saying.
All right, let's head into our next video.
All nuts broke loose when Richard pulled up to his crib and saw Hood Rat Raymond.
Be nice. Nope. Oh Lord, y'all done messed up the road. Look at my road. Look at my road. Look at my road. How y'all gonna get mail now? Come here. Why are you cutting up like that?
Now let's do a slow-mo replay of what just went down. Okay, you see Richard pulled up, Hood Rat Raymond see him. Richard did a flick of the tail, and Hood Rat Raymond pulled up on him, but he slipped. He slipped on the road, then Richard pinned him down. Then Hood Rat Raymond got loose. Richard, listen, watch. Hood Rat like, all right, bring it on. Richard like, oh, I'm already on. Bring it, nuts. Bow. See, he slipped, and I'm shocked, y'all.
Why is a grown ass man playing around with squirrels?
I don't know. Oh, but the fact that, oh my God, he had a whole like condominium built
He did.
for the squirrels and everything. Oh my God. Okay,
He
go ahead
did.
to the next one.
So go right.
Wait.
Go right.
No, I'm
Go. I said go right.
I'm going
Now right
straight.
is that. What do you mean you're going? Okay, sorry. So you're now. I thought we're doing your driving test, but clearly you're testing me. Where are you going? This is private property. I said, does she not listen? I don't understand. I said go right. You decide to go straight. Okay. At this point, you can let me know what you want to do because clearly.
I got it. I'm going.
Clearly,
Just
you
kidding.
don't listen to anything. So we can go to the park. It's a very nice day. We can do picnic. If you guys want to, we can go to the mall also and shop. Because clearly we're not doing driving tests today. So anyone you want to do is okay. It's not a problem at this point of time. Good. You stopped in front of the stop sign. You don't have to stay at the stop sign. You can go after you stop.
Where do you want me to go? Where do you?
Oh, you're asking me now?
Yes, the light's green. There's a car behind me. I can't.
Are you going to listen? Go anywhere you want because at this point you like to go straight. So just continue going straight until we drive off the cliff. But what? Drive in the middle. Don't drive over. Your lane is right here. Is that what do you keep looking for on that side? Is there something that you forgot on that side or what? Please. Be mindful of those pedestrians. I'm afraid for them now. I feel like you're going to decide you want to park on the sidewalk any minute from now. Please, that's a young person. And stay on your own lane. Don't go. There's oncoming traffic. Don't go and be putting your head in that side. What are you? I said stay straight. This is a turning lane. No, this is a turning lane. You need to be on a normal lane. And now this girl. Testing again, honestly, because so if you kill me now, kill all of us, my family's not going to get anything. Do you understand? So please, just drop me off on the side or wait till we get to the bus stop. Not that side. There's a bus stop in front. You can drop me off there.
That is the most professional. That's the most professional frustration I've ever seen in my life.
It reminds me of when I used to be a driving instructor for buses. Oh my God. Oh my God. Can you imagine teaching somebody how to drive a 40-foot bus?
Oh God. Well, apparently she knew how to drive. She was supposed to be doing her road test, just not following the instructions.
She wasn't. She kind of knew how to drive. She had some infractions that I would have written down, but
Lord,
you know, like, yeah, that's I don't know. I thought teaching people how to drive a bigger vehicle after they had their driver's license was going to be easy because they got through that first initial driver's test. But no, it wasn't.
Yeah. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's head into final thoughts.
Oh, it's me. Hey, y'all. Okay, so my final thought is number one, protect the children. Like, it really bothered me that I heard, just the whole thing that was going on with the baby, with the police raid and all of that. Like, protect your children. Like, stand on it. Hold people accountable for harming your children. Okay. Second thought is I am pro-choice. Whatever it is that I feel like Americans here in our United States should be able to choose, between abortion and life or whatever. There's a lot of different circumstances that come with raising a child. So I feel like that people should be able to have that choice. Number three, don't vote for Trump because we have some insurmountable evidence that he would not be a good candidate to run this country as a whole. And he might be good for a certain select population, but he's not good for the whole America. So that's my final thought.
My final thought is we need to people need to be better trained in using their guns. I feel like if you a scary ass MF, you ain't got no business using no gun, owning no gun, trying to figure out how to shoot a gun. Then you lying and talking about you tripped on your porch, your gun accidentally go off, and you killing teenagers and stuff. And no, you shouldn't own the gun with your dumb ass. And don't vote for Donald Trump if you don't want to be living under a dictatorship. And for your black folks, if y'all go vote for Donald Trump, just know that he gonna more than likely send your ass back to the cotton field. And then that's my final thoughts for this episode.
Not the cotton field.
I'm just saying, I'm not lying.
It's true. It's true. No, you're not lying. No, you're not lying.
So with that being said, thank you all to the Audible listeners. Thank you for tuning into this episode of Same Cast Different Day podcast. We will see you next Tuesday on a brand new episode of the podcast. And those of you who choose to watch us live on Facebook and YouTube, we'll catch you next week, Thursday, 7:15 p.m. And we'll see you next week. Have a good one. Merry Christmas.